Empowerment can mean many different things to many different people, which in fact is the way it kind of should be, because empowerment, a big part of that, is about accepting responsibility for the individuality of your perspective and embracing that, the unique you, embracing that. So notions of empowerment themselves are going to mean different things for different people, right? You got to figure out your own meaning around that. Having said that, two quick notes. Number one is, in my experience and in talking to many people, running workshops around this stuff and all this, is I would say be careful around notions of feeling empowered if your sense of power is power over things, rather power with things. Often wanting power over things, over your career, over your relationships. Ultimately thinking that you want to have complete power over your life. They can often be reflections of insecurity. And I think a lack of being in touch with the mystery and the shifting, and that we can have profound influence on things, but ultimately I don't know if we can have ultimate control over things, okay? Second point, really important, I want to get to this morning very quickly, and that is there is a paradox I find with the notion of empowerment and the idea of freedom. Freedom. The most empowered people I've been lucky enough to meet and talk with have a profound experience of freedom within their lives. Now, not absolute freedom in the sense of do whatever in whatever moment. No, but when you know your values and you live your values, there's a profound sense of freedom, of relief, of amazing choice, beautiful choice on your menu, the menu that makes sense to you, a menu that you've constructed and built yourself. So I want to tap into this notion that there's a paradox around freedom and empowerment and the notion of devotion. Sometimes I talk about service, and service can have a really cold, weird, unpleasant for some people, Sunday morning association, church, religiosity, all these things, service, sacrifice, and a self-denial and all this stuff. I want to put all that aside. There's a huge history of that, and I have no doubt it has worked and been a positive influence for many people. Okay, so I'm not judging that, but we put that aside. And the notion of devotion, devote yourself to something. Devote yourself to anything. It could be art, it could be business, it could be your family, your children. Devotion. Devotion can be extremely liberating, and that's the paradox, because when you devote yourself to something, there can be this sense of being locked to it, of putting itself before yourself, in a sense, about working hard, even notions of sacrifice regarding devotion. How can that be liberating? Okay, but you will find, if you haven't already in your lifetime, that when you give yourself over to something, your feet lift the ground. There's this amazing, liberating quality, a sense of having come home. And that arrived at home, the tap dancing in your head of trying to prove things to yourself, of careers, and sometimes the tap dancing, the desperation behind that, all that can vanish when you devote yourself to something. So, while the notions of serving and service may not work for you, consider notions of devotion, devoting yourselves to something, and how that can be profoundly empowering. It can seem paradoxical to the ego. Okay? But once some of those illusions fall away and some of that insecurity when you try on devoting yourself to something, you'll find it's incredibly liberating and empowering.